We're about to dive into a city that is just, well, it's all about extremes. I mean, imagine stepping off a plane and the first thing you notice is the air. And it's not just that it feels fresh, it's like scientifically one of the cleanest places in the world.
Hmm.
And you're in a place where the food is so intense, they say the carrots actually taste more like carrots, where you can get these oysters that are literally the size of your
Right.
fists.
And then at the same time, you're looking at a menu, and a main course is $45
Mm.
for a pub meal.
Exactly.
And the sun, which feels great, can actually burn you in 15 minutes, even when it's cool out. And if you want to get around, good luck finding a train or a tram. It's just,
Yeah.
it's not there.
That's the paradox, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's what we're tackling in this deep dive. We are going right into Hobart, the capital of Tasmania, and we're zeroing in on this whole food and wilderness reputation it's built for itself.
Yep.
Our mission is pretty straightforward. Is Hobart this, gothic gourmet paradise that your social media feed promises? Or when you actually get down to it, with the logistics and the sheer cost, is it just an overpriced tourist trap at the bottom of the world?
And that's where I come in. I'm going to be looking at the logistical spine of this trip. We're breaking down the numbers, the actual costs, the planning you need to do. Think of me as your risk management officer for the trip.
I like that. And I'm handling the vibe, the stories, the feeling of the place, what it's actually like to stand on those old sandstone docks, looking south and realizing the next thing is just ice, Antarctica. Does the feeling justify the expense?
Before we get into that, we've got to flag 3 sort of aha moments. These are the surprises that just completely flip the script on what people think Hobart is like.
Okay, what's the first one?
Surprise number 1. This idea of a sleepy little town, it's gone. Totally. Hobart is growing, and it's growing fast. The traffic in the city center, especially in peak season, it's real. The congestion is a real thing you have to plan around.
Okay, that's a big one. What's number 2?
The food. Everyone goes for the food, but the really mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah.
It's not always in those super fancy, $150 a head restaurants.
No.
No. We found that the true genius is often coming out of a literal shed on the waterfront, or like a food trailer painted some bright color. That's where the magic is.
I love that. Okay, and the third surprise.
This one's a lifesaver, literally. You do not need to pack your gear for an 8-hour soul-crushing hike to see the wilderness. You can just drive. You can drive your rental car right up into the clouds on Kunanyi or Mount Wellington, which looms right over the city.
So the epic nature is actually super accessible.
Incredibly accessible. And this is the big one. Before we get into that, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. This is the single most important decision you will make.
Let me guess. It's about getting around.
It's car dependency. If you go to Hobart and you don't rent a car or you can't drive, your trip's quality just plummets.
Too much.
We're talking from a potential 9 out of 10 experience right down to a frustrating 4 out of 10. The car isn't an optional extra. It dictates everything.
Wow. Okay, so that's a huge warning right up top. And I think that leads us straight into our main thesis for this whole deep dive, doesn't it?
It does.
Hobart is, arguably the best small city experience you can have in the Southern Hemisphere for a 4-day trip. But, and it's a huge but, only if you're willing to accept that you need to budget over 200 Australian dollars per person, per day.
If you try and do it for less than that, the friction, the things you can't do, they just start to overwhelm all the good stuff.
Right. So we're going to spend our time today breaking down exactly why that $200 line is so critical. We'll even give you verdicts for different kinds of travelers. But first, we need to understand how Tasmania even got here. How did it become so cool?
We have to start there. Let's get into the context. We're calling this segment the MONA effect.
It's kind of amazing when you think about it. Post-COVID, the interest in Tasmania, or Tassie as everyone calls it, it just exploded.
It's a total reversal.
Yeah.
For decades in Australia, Tassie was, well, it was kind of the butt of the jokes, the remote, slightly backward cousin.
And now it's the undisputed cool kid everyone wants to go. And you can't talk about that shift without talking about one place, MONA, the Museum of Old and New Art.
Absolutely. It opened over a decade ago, and it didn't just add an attraction to the city. It fundamentally rewired Hobart's entire identity. It changed its DNA.
It really was a shock to the system, wasn't it? You had this very conservative, historic fishing port, all sandstone and convict history.
Very staid. Beautiful, but staid. And then MONA comes along with all this subversive, provocative, sometimes really confronting art. It was this injection of weirdness, high art counterculture.
And that weirdness became the brand. It created this whole, dark, artsy, almost pagan festival vibe. I mean, you have to talk about the Dark Mofo Festival in winter.
Oh, for sure.
That's the one where people do the nude swim in the Durant River in the middle of winter. It's freezing, it's absolutely insane, and it gets global attention.
And that's the hook, right? You go for that spectacle, for the art, and then you stay. You stick around, you drink the amazing local Pinot Noir, and you just soak up this atmosphere you can't find anywhere else on Earth.
Here's the reality check. That hype is powerful, but you have to contrast it with what it's like on the ground in, say, January. Social media is still full of these pictures of empty beaches and, a lone hiker on a mountain peak. But that's not the reality of peak season anymore.
Not at all. It's a victim of its own success. In summer, December to February, you're not alone.
Yeah.
You are literally fighting for a parking spot at the popular lookouts.
Yeah.
You're standing in a queue for a coffee or for those famous scallop pies. The infrastructure, especially those narrow old roads, it really struggles.
Yeah. But the thing that does hold up, the reason people pay the prices, is the core promise of food and wilderness. That part is 100% real.
It absolutely is. And it all comes down to the environment. The soil there is incredibly rich and dark, and the water is just so cold.
Which means everything grows slower and richer. That's why the sensory details are so powerful. It sounds silly to say the carrots taste more like carrots, but it's true. There's an intensity to the flavor.
And it's the same with the seafood, those huge oysters, the salmon.
Yeah.
Because they come from that icy water. They're not just fresh, they're noticeably sweeter. It's a genuine biological difference.
Which brings us back to the money. This is what we're calling the purity premium. Because let's be clear, Hobart is more expensive than most mainland Australian cities, let alone a place like Southeast Asia.
It is, and it's because it's an island economy. Yes, the food is local, but almost everything else has to be shipped in. Fuel, equipment for restaurants, clothes, cars, all of it comes with the logistics cost that gets passed on to you.
And the environmental controls are super strict too, which adds costs.
Exactly. So when you pay $45 for that fish, you're not just paying for the fish, you're paying a premium for the isolation, the purity, and the stewardship that keeps the place so special.
It's the cost of being at the edge of the world. And that feeling, it really is palpable.
It is. You can be standing on the docks, you look south over that huge river,
Yeah.
and, deep down, the next stop is Antarctica. That sense of finality, of being on the absolute edge, it hangs over the whole trip. And for a lot of people, that feeling alone is worth the price.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly. Let's move on to the actual arrival. Segment 2, first impressions and arrival logistics.
Right, so you land at Hobart International Airport, HBA. And international is a generous term.
It's tiny. It's actually quite adorable. You get to do that rare thing where you walk across the tarmac from the plane to the terminal. It's an immediate sensory hit.
And the first thing that hits you before you see anything is the air. No matter what time of year you land, it's just crisp. It has this clean bite to it that is noticeably different even from, say, Melbourne or Sydney.
But then, boom, the logistics test begins immediately. And that car dependency thing we mentioned, it starts right here.
Right. There's no train, there's no metro. You have two main options to get into the city.
Option 1.
The budget option, the Skybus. It's efficient, it runs pretty often, and it's about 20 Australian dollars for a one-way trip into the city center.
Add option 2.
Your standard Uber or a taxi, that's going to take you back somewhere between $45 and $50 to get to the CBD.
Okay, let's do the quick maths on that because this is important. If you're traveling as a couple, 2 Skybus tickets is $40.
Yep. So for $5 or $10 more, an Uber will take both of you, plus your luggage, directly to your hotel door. It's not a huge price difference for a massive gain in convenience. For a solo traveler, Skybus wins. For 2 or more, the Uber is almost always worth it.
That makes perfect sense. So you're in your Uber or your rental car, and you start the drive into the city. And honestly, the first 10 minutes are a bit underwhelming.
It's a lot of dry grass and highway. It doesn't scream gourmet paradise straight away.
But then you get to this one point, you come over a crest, and the whole scene just opens up. It's genuinely dramatic.
It is. Suddenly you see the Derwent River, and it's massive. It's this deep, powerful blue. And then right behind it, dominating everything, is Kunanyi Mount Wellington.
It looks like a giant guardian watching over the city. It sets the whole tone.
It really does. Now, let's say you took our advice and you picked up a rental car at the airport.
Yeah.
You need to be ready for a challenge the second you hit the city proper.
Oh, the streets of Hobart.
It can be a bit of a nightmare if you're not used to it. You've got these incredibly steep hills, a confusing web of one-way streets, and really tight corners. If you're in a manual car, you better be good at hill starts.
But navigating that is worth it for the vibe of the city itself. It feels so permanent.
Heavy is the word I'd use. The architecture is all this convict-built colonial sandstone. It's more stone than glass. It feels more like an old European city than a modern Australian one.
And that history leads to something that catches a lot of travelers out, the closing times.
Yes, this is a huge one. We call it quiet city charm, but really it's just inconveniently early. You cannot land at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday and expect to just wander into a nice restaurant.
Not going to happen.
The kitchens, even in the city, start shutting down at 8:30, 9 p.m. at the absolute latest. After that, your options are basically a kebab shop or makas.
So you should plan your evenings. You can't just be spontaneous with dinner.
You absolutely have to plan. It forces you to slow down, which some people might like. But from a logistics point of view, it can be a real pain if you're not prepared for it.
I have to say, I kind of found it charming. It feels like the city is on its own schedule, not a global 247 clock.
I can see that, but it's a friction point you need to be aware of. And one last thing on the arrival vibe, the light.
Oh, the light is incredible.
It's stunning because of the clear air and the UV, everything is super high contrast. The blues are bluer, the greens are greener. It's like the whole world has had the saturation turned up.
Okay, so we've arrived. Let's talk about the wallet. Segment 3, the bank account damage report. Time to get into that premium price tag.
Right. Let's put some real numbers on this. Accommodation is your first big hit. It sets the tone, and the tone is expensive.
Okay, give us the full spectrum, high end to low end.
At the very top, you've got places like the Tasman or MACQ01 right on the waterfront. Beautiful boutique world-class service. In summer, you're looking at a minimum of $400 a night, probably closer to $600.
Wow. Okay, that's serious money. What about for our mid-range couple, the sweet spot?
For a decent 3-star hotel or a nice private room in an Airbnb, you're in the range of $180 to $250 a night. And you have to remember, for that price, you might be in an older building without all the modern bells and whistles you'd expect elsewhere.
And often a little bit outside the main city center, right? Reinforcing that need for a car.
Exactly. Now, for the budget traveler, there are options, but they come with compromises.
Like what?
Well, you've got great hostels like the YHA. A dorm bed there might be $40 to $60, but then you're sharing a room, you're cooking your own meals, or if you're in a camper van, you're saving on a hotel, but a powered site at a caravan park is still going to be about $40 a night. You can't just park for free.
So budget is possible, but it takes work.
A lot of work. Now let's talk about the food, the gourmet price. This is why people come, and is where budgets go to die.
Okay, so what's a baseline meal? Let's say a classic pub feed, a chicken parma and a beer.
You should budget $35 to $40 for that. That's your standard, no-frills evening meal.
And if you do want to lean into that fine dining scene, a place like Fico or Templo,
Then you need to be realistic. For their tasting menus, you're looking at $150 per person, and that's usually before wine. So a nice dinner for two can easily be a $400 evening.
and even the little things add up. A coffee.
Your morning flat white is going to be $5.50, maybe $6 in a good cafe.
But this is where that surprise comes in, right? You can find value if you know where to look.
You absolutely can, and it's by eating the local specialties. The scallop pies you find in bakeries are famous for a reason. They're about $10, they're delicious, and they're really filling. That's a great cheap lunch.
And the fish and chips punt on the waterfront.
A Hobart institution. You can still get a great serve of fish and chips there for about $18. So you can balance it out, you can find the gems. But that foodie experience everyone talks about, that comes at a serious cost.
Okay, what about activities? Where's the value there?
The value is in nature. It's surprisingly cheap. The National Park's holiday pass is about $45 for your car, and that pass is valid for up to 8 weeks. It gets you into Mount Wellington, the Tasman National Park, everywhere.
So once you've paid for the car rental, the actual access to the wilderness is a bargain.
It really is. The cultural stuff costs more. MONA is $35 to $38 for a ticket, plus another $25 if you take the ferry, which you really should. So that's over $60 a head for that one activity.
So let's pull this all together. Let's define those budget bands for people listening.
So the budget backpacker. To do this, you need at least $120 a day. And this is bare bones.
What does that look like?
You're cooking all your meals in a hostel. You're walking everywhere. Your entertainment is basically a cheap box of wine, what the locals call goon. You'll see Hobart, but you won't really experience it.
Right. What about the mid-range couple, the target audience?
This is where you need that $350 per person per day. That gets you a nice Airbnb, gets you that essential Corolla rental. You can do MO&A, and you can eat out nicely once a day. You can actually live the Hobart dream.
And at the top end, the luxury traveler.
$800 a day and up. At that point, the sky's the limit. Luxury SUVs, suites at the Tasman, private helicopter tours to the wilderness. Tassie does raw, world-class luxury incredibly well if you can afford it.
Okay, that's a really clear breakdown. Now, even if you have the budget, there are things that can just completely ruin the trip. Let's get into segment 4, logistics and planning traps.
Right. These are the critical mistakes that people make. I have 3 big ones.
What's the first one?
Trap number 1 is what I call the Tassie time distance trap. You look at a map and it looks small. You see 100 kilometers and you think, oh, that's an hour's drive.
Which it is on a normal highway.
It is not in Tasmania. The roads are constantly twisting and turning. They go up and down mountains. They're mostly single lane. And you will get stuck behind a logging truck. That 100-kilometer drive will take you 2 hours, minimum.
So the biggest mistake is overscheduling, thinking you can do too much in one day.
Exactly. People try to cram it all in, and they end up spending all day stressed out in the car. You have to build in buffer time. The driving is beautiful, but it is exhausting.
Okay, that's a huge one. What's trap number 2?
The clothing trap, or weather shock. People, especially from mainland Australia, turn up in December with shorts and T-shirts.
And they freeze.
They freeze. You have to understand, the wind in Hobart comes straight from Antarctica. It is sharp and it is cold, no matter what month it is. You have to pack layers, year-round.
So it's the essential kit.
You need a decent puffer jacket, a proper waterproof shell for the rain and wind, and thermals. The perfect example is driving up Mount Wellington. It can be a lovely 20 degrees in the city, and 20 minutes later at the summit, it's 10 degrees and snowing. In summer.
Wow, snow in summer. You have to be prepared.
You have to be. Which leads to the most important planning tip of all. Trap number 3, the rental car insurance scam.
This sounds serious.
It is. This is about wildlife. Tasmania has a huge amount of wildlife, wallabies, possums, wombats, and they're most active at dawn and dusk.
And hitting one is not a minor issue.
Hitting a wombat is like hitting a block of concrete. They are dense, low to the ground, and they will destroy the radiator of your car. Your car will be instantly undrivable, and you'll be stuck in the middle of nowhere with a huge repair bill.
And the insurance companies know this.
They know this, so you have to read the fine print. Most basic insurance policies specifically exclude single vehicle accidents, which is what hitting an animal is. They also often exclude driving at night in rural areas.
So they exclude the exact situation you're most likely to be in.
Precisely. So the takeaway here is non-negotiable. You must get the zero excess, top-level insurance. It might add $50 a day to your rental, but it protects you from a potential $5,000 bill. Do not skimp on this.
That is a critical piece of advice. What about staying connected? Phone signal.
Another trap. Outside of the main Hobart suburbs, only one provider really works reliably: Telstra. If you're on a budget carrier like Vodafone or Optus, your signal will just disappear.
So what's the solution?
Download offline Google Maps for the entire area you plan to visit before you leave your hotel's Wi-Fi. Do not rely on having a live signal for directions, because you won't.
And one final planning tip, especially for the foodies.
The timing of your trip. Don't go from Sunday to Tuesday. A lot of the best small cafes and restaurants close on Mondays and Tuesdays. The best time to go to catch everything open, including the markets, is Wednesday to Sunday.
And the big one, Salamanca Market, is Saturdays only.
Strictly Saturdays. You miss it, you miss out.
Okay, let's move into segment 5, safety and comfort realities. Let's talk about the human element first. How safe does Hobart feel?
Incredibly safe. From a crime perspective, it's one of the safest cities you can visit. Violent crime against tourists is basically non-existent. You can walk around the waterfront at night and feel completely at ease.
I found that too. The locals are maybe a little reserved at first, but really friendly and helpful if you ask them for something. It contributes to that slower pace.
It does. It feels secure, permanent. But the real danger in Hobart isn't from people. It's from the environment, specifically the sun and the water.
We have to mention the UV again, don't we?
We have to.
Yeah.
Because of the hole in the ozone layer and the clean air, the UV index is extreme. You can be out on a cool, cloudy day, feel perfectly comfortable, and get badly burned in 15 minutes. Sunscreen is not optional. It's essential.
And the water, it looks so blue and inviting, especially up the coast.
It looks tropical, but it is Antarctic. It is dangerously cold even in summer. You can get hypothermia. You have to respect it. Test it before you jump in.
So if the city is so safe, what's the equivalent of a tourist scam? Where are you likely to get ripped off?
The scam is paying a premium for mediocrity. It's the restaurants right on the waterfront, in the highest traffic areas, that are just not good.
They survive on their location, not their quality.
Exactly. They know a new wave of tourists will be there tomorrow, so they can serve up frozen fish at fresh prices. There are some great places on the water, but there are some real traps.
So how do you avoid them?
Use your phone. Check the Google reviews before you sit down. Our rule of thumb from the research was simple. If a place in a prime tourist spot has a rating under 4.0 stars, just walk away. There are too many other amazing places to eat.
Good rule. And a final point on comfort, specifically in those historic Airbnbs.
Yes. If you book one of those gorgeous old sandstone cottages in a place like Battery Point, you have to ask one specific question before you book.
What's that?
How good is the heating? Those old houses have zero insulation. The stone walls get cold and they stay cold. Without a powerful modern heater, it's like sleeping in a very beautiful, very expensive refrigerator.
Okay, that is a very specific but very important tip. So we've covered the costs, the traps, the planning. Let's get to the payoff. Segment 6. Best moments, disappointments, and alternatives. Where does the trip deliver?
For me, the number one, this is why I came here moment, was the Tasman Peninsula boat trip. Pentecote Wilderness Journeys.
Right, they have those distinctive yellow boats. They look pretty touristy.
They do. And you might feel a bit skeptical getting on, but then they take you out and you are right underneath these 300-meter high sea cliffs made of dark volcanic dolerite.
Wow.
And you've got seals jumping in the water, giant albatross flying over your head.
Yeah.
It's spiritual. It makes you feel incredibly small in the best possible way. It absolutely lives up to the hype.
My best moment was all about the food, but in a really simple way. The farm gate market on Sunday morning. Locals just call it farmy.
Oh, yeah. It's much more of a locals market than Salamanca.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I got a wallaby burrito. I know it sounds a bit strange, but wallaby is this amazing, sustainable, lean local meat. And they served it with this incredibly fresh, intense salsa. It cost $14, and I just sat on the curb eating it, and I thought, this is it. This is the taste of this place.
It proves the theory. The best food isn't always the most expensive.
Exactly. Okay, so what about the disappointments? Where did the hype not match the reality?
For me, it was the actual hospitality experience at Monet on a crowded day. Now, let me be clear. The art is incredible. The building is amazing. But the logistics of just getting a drink or some food, it was a nightmare.
What happened?
We waited 45 minutes in a queue for one glass of wine.
Yeah.
The whole food area was just loud, chaotic, and overcrowded. It felt less like a sophisticated museum and more like a theme park for hipsters. The crowds just overwhelmed the experience.
So see the art, but maybe eat somewhere else.
100%.
Okay.
And the other big disappointment for me was Port Arthur. The history there is so important, so heavy. But the visitor experience felt really sanitized.
How so?
You're herded around in these huge groups on strict timetables. It's really hard to feel the ghostliness of the place, the weight of the history when you're surrounded by 200 other people. It felt like they were sacrificing the atmosphere for efficiency.
I can see that. Okay, so if Hobart seems like too much, either too expensive or too crowded, what are the alternatives?
Alternative number one is to just go to the other end of the island, Launceston. It's Tasmania's second city in the north.
And it's a bit cheaper.
A bit cheaper, and usually a bit warmer. And it has its own world-class food scene. It's actually a UNESCO City of Gastronomy, and it's right next to the Tamar Valley wine region. If you love wine, it's arguably a better base than Hobart.
Interesting. And what's alternative two, if it's all about the wilderness?
Then you might want to consider the South Island of New Zealand. If you want jaw-dropping, epic-scale mountains and fjords, New Zealand probably has the edge on sheer scale. The logistics are similar. You still need a car.
But how does the food compare?
And that's the trade-off. Tassie wins on food, hands down. The produce, the seafood, the markets, it's just more intense and more diverse than what we'll find in New Zealand. So NZ for sheer scale, Tassie for flavor.
So what's the recommended route for a first-timer?
I'd say do a 3-day Hobart blitz. See MONA, hit the markets, then rent that car and do the Great Eastern Drive up the coast to Freycinet National Park and see Wineglass Bay.
But with a big warning about accommodation costs there.
Right. A huge warning. The few places to stay right near Freycinet are known for crazy price gouging. You need to book months in advance or stay in a nearby town and drive in for the day.
Okay, that brings us to our final verdict, segment 7, the final matrix verdict. Let's apply all this to the different types of travelers.
Right. Let's run Hobart through the filter.
First up, the budget backpacker.
Verdict, skip it. Honestly.
Strong call. Why?
The cost of living is just too high, and you can't access the best stuff, the wilderness, the food without a car, which blows the budget. Your $120 a day will go so much further somewhere else.
Okay, next, the mid-range couple.
Verdict. 100% go. This is who Hobart is for. This is the target market.
And the reasoning.
With that $350 a day budget, you can do it all comfortably. The car, the nice accommodation, the romantic dinners, the activities. It's the perfect 5-day getaway for this demographic.
A family trip.
Verdict. Proceed with caution. This is a tricky one. A lot of kids will get bored with scenery and convict history pretty fast. M180 is definitely not kid-friendly. And feeding a family of 4 at these prices is a huge financial strain. It really only works if you're a family that already loves hiking and camping together.
And finally, the luxury traveler.
Verdict. Absolutely go now.
No hesitation there.
None. Tasmania offers a kind of raw, discreet, world-class luxury that is very hard to find. Private tours, incredible lodges like Sapphire Freycinet. If you have the money, it's an unparalleled experience.
So let's bring it all home. What is the final overall verdict on Hobart?
It's that Hobart is absolutely worth it for the food and wilderness.
Yeah.
But you have to go in accepting that you are paying global city prices, like London or Sydney prices, for what is, in reality, a regional town experience. It is not a budget destination.
It's the price you pay for that purity and that unique, haunting atmosphere.
There's nowhere else like it. That combination of history, food, and the wild just hovering right there.
Yeah.
Special.
So what's the perfect time to go to avoid the worst of the crowds and prices?
Late February or March. The school holidays are over, the weather's usually at its most stable, and it's the beginning of the wine harvest, which is a great time to be in the region.
And where's the best place to base yourself?
Stay somewhere walkable in the CBD or Battery Point. That way you can walk to dinner. But keep that essential rental car parked and ready for your day trips.
Which brings us to our final wrap-up, segment 7, the final synthesis and provocative thought.
So the trade-off is clear. You get this incredibly unique, delicious, beautiful experience. But in return, you have to accept the high cost, the need for a car, and you have to be vigilant about the environment. You're trading convenience for purity.
And that leads to our final question for you to think about. We've established that Hobart demands global city prices for a regional town experience. So if the price of that purity, the clean air, the intense food is this high, does paying a premium for an experience that forces you to slow down, to disconnect, to engage with something truly raw, does that make it the ultimate luxury in the 21st century?
Something to think about while you're ticking that zero excess insurance box.
Go and find that scallop pie. And please, whatever you do, watch out for the wombats at dusk.
Safe travels to the edge of the world.